Welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler, here with Johnny.
Hey, Tyler, how's it going, man? How are you?
I'm doing fine, John.
I'm also doing well. Hey, Tyler, I want to talk about something you like really quick.
Oh?
Yeah. Japan. You love Japan, right? And Japanese video games?
It is where all the good video games canonically do come from.
Oh, all of them? What about Pong?
That's not a good video game. That's a historic video game.
Oh, I thought all the historic games came from Japan, too, and that was kind of why you like them.
Historic ones are mixed between California and Japan. But, it's West Coast stuff. Or Pacific Ocean stuff.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you've heard about the yen, but it's still kind of down right now.
Yeah. Is it historically down still? It's crazy how cheap the yen is. If you guys aren't buying Japanese video games, get on Zen Market.
Yeah, I'm going to put $1,000 in my Zen Market wallet just cuz. And then I'm like, oh, it went down some more. What am I even doing? What is happening?
No way. 160 yen per dollar. It's still going down. That's 160 yen per dollar. That is, I don't know how to put that in context historically. I guess I could look at the charts. It used to be barely above 100 per dollar.
So it hasn't been this since the big crash of the 80s is what it's been like.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I think 81.
Usually when I'm buying games on Yahoo, the yen used to be 110, 120 per dollar. And so the easy conversion to do is just assume 100 yen is $1, and then you'll be happy with whatever price you pay because it's going to end up being less than that. But at 160, you're paying so much less than that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's not at its lowest because there was a couple days where it was even lower than this, if you could imagine. Almost went down to 61. But because of this, a lot of people are traveling to Japan right now. Did you know that? Taking advantage of that, good conversion rate.
I did know that. I've seen some videos cross my screen of just tourists acting like fools around geishas and things like that, treating historic Japanese places as if they're Disney World.
Well, that's embarrassing. But if you want to travel to Japan, it might be a good time to do so. If you have ever thought about it, or it might be a good time to just buy a bunch of yen and just be all right, I'm saving this for later.
Oh, yeah, we should, let's convince our audience to get into Forex trading. That's a great idea, Johnny.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you were going to travel to Japan, go buy your yen for your travel money now.
But that's still Forex speculation.
I mean,
which we really don't know anything about. It could drop further.
I mean, I'm not saying wait 10 years. Yeah, I could keep going, but, yeah, I think I personally might go to Japan in the next 4 months.
It seems like the time to go to Japan.
Hotels were pretty cheap. I was man, it's so cheap. How are hotels right now? When I looked into it and how are flights? The flights are down. The hotels were down. Everything was just kind of down.
Unless it's a Boeing 737 Max, I could understand why that's going down.
Oh, well, I don't know, but it just was not nearly as expensive as when I looked 3 years ago when it was $1,200 for me to fly there. They're would you like to fly to Japan for $500? And I was that's not so bad.
$500?
Yeah.
Hold on. All right, let's put the episode on pause. I'm gotta look up what a flight to Japan costs. I guess you're on the West Coast, so it's a shorter flight.
Yes, it's a little different for me, and I'm by a major international hub.
All right. Yeah, you invited me casually, and I said, "Hey, Johnny, I can't plan a vacation in 4 months. That's crazy. What are you talking about?"
And I was like, "Why not? Let's do it." No, I think my wife and I are going to go. My son has this weird thing. He's I want to go to Japan. He's 5. I don't know why he wants to go to Japan. I don't know why he's got this as an idea, but he really wants to go. So I was well, I guess we could check it out. And if flights are going to be between $500 and $800, right, and you're going to give yourself some leeway there, then maybe I can make this happen. And then with the yen being down, it's okay, we can get a hotel. We can go do it if we're going to do our vacation for the year. This doesn't seem like the wrong time to do it.
That sounds like fun. I've been talking to a couple people, as if I'm like talking to people in Japan, but I've had a couple friends go to Japan in like the past year and like hunt for games. And from what I've heard, like, yes, you like have your pick of the litter of like the common games you would think you would find, you know, like Chrono Triggers and Super Mario Brothers 3 are out there. But the people who went like looking for deals on like rare, like weird stuff just said like, no, it's just like not there. Like you think you're going to find like the crazy rarest Famicom and Famicom Disk System games, and like they just couldn't find anything really cool.
Yeah, that's not why I'm going. I'm not going to buy games.
I know. I mean,
that sounds like not what I want to do on my vacation. Like, I will walk into a game store just to be like, I did it. I walked into a game store in Japan, but that's not really why I'm going.
If I'm going to Japan, I'm going to a couple of game stores. I'm sorry. We're going to have an arcade day. We're going to see if it's legal for foreigners to play pachinko and just zone out gambling. I don't know.
Is it not legal for...
No, because like pachinko is like a whole loophole thing where like you trade the pachinko balls for like fake prizes, and then you go to the building next door and trade the prizes back for money. I don't know if that process would be English friendly, let's say. I'm sure they're going to be happy to take my money to buy pachinko balls.
They're like, deal.
Yeah, you could just get the stuffed animal at the end instead of turning it back into money.
Yeah, they're like, enjoy. Good luck getting that on the plane.
But you know what? You got to go into the pachinko halls because you got to go find Castlevania Erotic Violence, the premier Castlevania pachinko machine.
Is that what I have to do?
This is what you have to do.
I don't know if I want to do that. Anyways, thinking about it, one of my wife's great ambitions is to have gone to all the Disneylands in the world, and we would be able to check off 2 of them right there.
My friend is going to Japan this year specifically to go to Tokyo Disneyland.
Yeah, it's considered like the best Disneyland. People say it's great. We want to see it. There's also the Miyazaki Park that you can go to, but I mean, also I want to ride a bullet train and see Japan, obviously, but we're not going to go that long, so we're thinking like 7 days.
I'm excited for you. I can't plan a vacation that fast. I did look at flights though, under $1,000. I did not expect them to be that cheap because flights have been like kind of expensive lately. Yeah, at least when I've been flying. But all right, cool. And my friend also has a kid about your kid's age. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming between like 3 and 5.
He's 5.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, let's go to Japan. And me and Ada's first gut reaction was like, man, I really don't want to go on an international trip with a kid. So
yeah, no, that is correct.
We're declining all these people asking us to go to Japan.
Yeah, no, you should not want to do that. Was not like, yeah, unless you specifically have other kids you're traveling with. Like, no thanks.
I want to climb Mount Fuji, Johnny.
I want to go see Mount Fuji. Yeah. There's like a bunch of cool trips on Mount Fuji you can take.
Apparently it's overcrowded. They're like limiting the amount of people who climb in Mount Fuji.
Well, I don't necessarily need to climb it.
You gotta climb it. It's there. Come on, look at that landscape. Then every anime you ever see until the end of time, you'll be like, yeah, I was on the top of that thing. Yeah,
but you can just go to the top. You don't have to hike it.
I mean, you're not going to feel the sense of accomplishment when you're watching anime, though.
Whatever. You get something out of hiking. I don't. Right. Anyways, we don't need to belabor.
You know what? Not everybody gets something out of hiking, Johnny. Like that. Not everybody gets something out of VTech educational smartridges
or DVD games.
Boy, there sure are a lot of video games and video game adjacent items that people don't like collecting.
All right, let me, let's just be clear. We're transitioning to the episode now because we talked enough. Anyways, we're talking about stuff nobody collects and nobody cares about, Tower, which isn't exactly right. Some people, we say nobody in the loose way. Some people do collect this stuff, but not a lot. It's not that collectible. I'm not saying it should be more collectible. Are you making that case?
Yeah, I'm making that case.
Okay, I'm not going to agree with you. Some of this stuff needs to stay in the trash bin of history and no one should buy it. But let's talk about it anyway, shall we?
You see, all right. We're going to talk about stupid, obscure stuff that does not matter. For the most part, some historical stuff, because I'm Tyler. But if you say something like, so-and-so stupid comic from the 1960s has to stay in the trash bin of history. What you're actually saying is that comic is in a long box that's been owned by a comic book shop or a major collector or dealer for the past 70 years, and it's just not going anywhere. It's just going to sit in that long box forever because no one cares about it. And then one day, if we ever need to come back to it, it's right there. Like, the collector already has it. Like, people have hundreds of thousands of comics sometimes. It's just sitting there. But when it comes to weird video game stuff, like really stuff on the fringes, this stuff does not fit into a nice little box and get filed away forever. This stuff is getting, like, lost. And people don't have to collect it, but if just everybody decides something doesn't matter, it will eventually all be gone. And then one day, if we decide maybe that was cool, maybe we should have cared about that, there won't be any of it left.
But won't that, look, if we do that, if we all collectively say this is all trash, we shouldn't do anything with this, then when the one person decides that they should, then they have a cool item. Right now, everyone can just go get this stuff.
I mean, no, like for some of this like obscure stuff on the edges, you definitely can't just go get it. The benefit is a lot of it is really rare, but like tops out in the few $100 range because like no one's spending thousands of dollars on something that literally no one else will care about. But some of it is like so rare that it just doesn't come up.
Tyler,
I like this stuff, Johnny.
I know.
It makes your collection interesting to collect something that no one else cares about.
Are you telling me you want to buy a Super Mario Brothers, Mario's Adventure All Night Nippon, Famicom Warriors VHS?
That was a lot of words put together. But I mean, it said All Night Nippon and you had Mario Brothers in there, so that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it's a VHS tape. It's got Gray Bowser on it. It's a wild looking tape. Anyways, we'll talk about stuff like that and more in this episode, including VTech. Can't wait to talk about VTech. Who doesn't love edutainment items?
Johnny, I know I've talked about. I'm not really a big edutainment fan.
It's
famously
funny because this
do not
whole
like the Sega
podcast
Pico.
is edutainment.
We did a whole episode rating cartridges last time.
Very educational.
What was educational about that? That the Atari 5200 is the coolest cartridge that's ever been made?
People learned that on the historic 250th episode of Collector's Quest, we didn't even acknowledge it. And we did a bullshit episode where, because you were like offhanded in another episode, we should talk about the cartridges. And then we just did. That's what
Johnny,
they learned.
I know we talk about some of this stuff. We talk about some of this stuff on Collector's Quest. I think we might have done an episode similar to this, but you know what?
We do.
Podcasts and collecting things, they repeat stuff all the time. So we're going to repeat ourselves if we have to.
Yeah, we don't have the same audience that we had 2 years ago or 4 years ago.
Johnny, early dedicated consoles are super underrated. It is crazy. I mean, even Atari, which is not like a super, super early console, Atari, super popular console, super important console, gets dismissed by video game collectors. Just like, Atari, fuck that shit. That shit's old. It doesn't have a story yet, so it doesn't even count. I only play games when they don't require skill and they just tell me a story. But I'm talking Atari Home Pong, the console that popularized home video games at home. Look at how many clone Pong consoles there were. And yes, I think Magnavox Odyssey is obviously very important as well, but Pong was more popular than Odyssey. I wouldn't say Odyssey is unpopular to collect. Like, to get a nice Odyssey, you're spending like $500 plus. So I'm going to say people collect those. Epic TV tennis, electro tennis, Johnny. Who have you ever seen have one of these in their collection? I could think of one, and there's this like middle-aged lady who collects electronic games and dedicated consoles like that, and she had one. And she's the only person I've ever seen it. It's the first video game console to come out in Japan, and they're not common.
I have never seen anyone with one.
It's from 1975. It is called Epic TV Tennis Electro Tennis. That was not me flubbing my words. It's called Tennis Electro Tennis. It's awful. And
good name.
As cool as that sounds, it's Pong.
Oh. I like Electro Tennis is such a better name than Pong. Pong.
But even more important than that, all right, if you hate all of that because you're just like, oh, they're all just Pong clones. Odyssey, that's just Pong. Oh, Pong, that's just Pong. Oh, Electro Tennis, that's just Pong. There is one more Pong console, or a series of Pong consoles. The first Nintendo consoles.
Oh,
whoa!
wait. You mean these Nintendo collectibles aren't being collected?
I mean, they kind of. I definitely have seen this. I've seen more people with early Nintendo consoles than, Atari Pong collections. Like, I've seen people, like, will just have, like, oh, I've got an APF TV Fun, just like some random Pong console, but I don't see people actively trying to collect that kind of stuff. It's more like, oh, I found a Coleco Telstar at the flea market, so I bought it because I collect video games. But I said the magic word, and the magic word is Nintendo. And just by saying Nintendo, it's automatically collectible. True. So, I mean, these are more collectible. People know Nintendo Color TV Game 6 is the first console they ever made. And it's got, like, variants. It's got color variants. It's got a limited edition put out by Maxell. There's, like, cool stuff with the Color TV Game 6. They sold so many of these. This isn't like TV Electro Tennis where you just, like, can't find one for sale. With that apparently sold well. I don't know if my searches are wrong or something, but I haven't been able to find one of those complete in box. Color TV Game 6, you could just go get, like, less than $100, or maybe like $100 complete in box. Probably with the exchange rate, probably less than $100 complete in box right now.
Oh, man.
It's the first Nintendo console.
It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
You can get a TV Game 6 on eBay right now for $109.
Complete?
I mean, it looks complete.
Is it boxed at least? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's got a yellow box.
There you go. They made a TV Game 15. So, but this is just Pong, by the way. So it's just Nintendo's version of Pong. They made the TV Game 15, which came out at the same time. It has 9 more games, Johnny. Guess what? They're all Pong.
How many are Pong?
They're Pong.
Oh. There's
the Color TV Game Racing 112. Don't know why it has a terrible name. This is a big old steering wheel. It's gigantic. It's like 75% the size of a real steering wheel. And it's just like a shitty plug-and-play racing game. There's Color TV Game Block Breaker, which is Nintendo's version of Breakout. These came out in 1978 and 1979. So this isn't like they all came out at once. Like, Nintendo was releasing one console per year. And then in 1980, we get the rare one. We've brought this up on the show before. The Computer TV Game. Oh yeah. Man, the only one of these I don't have. This is a dedicated plug-and-play Othello game. And man, that's so cool, Johnny. I love this stuff. It's Nintendo. I don't know what Nintendo has, like, a history with Othello. I don't know what it is about it. Like,
I love Shakespeare.
Othello on the Famicom Disk System was a really popular and common game for some reason. Shut you and your comments.
Go on.
No, So obviously I'm excited about the early Nintendo stuff.
Do you have a TV Game 15?
I might have a TV Game 15. I either have 3 TV Game 6s or 2 6s and 1 15.
Okay, because you can get one for like $135.
I would not pay that much. I guarantee they're cheaper in
Japan. Yeah. I'm just talking about if you just were like, meh, eBay. Also, tell me more about I see it listed as the Nintendo Pong Block, and they're calling it the BK6. What is that?
I don't know. It's probably the TV Game Block Breaker. Okay. It kind of has, it's like a rectangle. It's kind of rounded.
Yes. Orange.
It's got a big old knob on it. They're all orange, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they all have big knobs on them.
Okay. they do look similar because they're all stupid, very simple
and like orange.
Pong and Breakout games. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is probably the Breakout one then. Okay. All right. You can get that one too. If you did not want to go the route of, buying it from Japan, like there are a bunch on eBay, you can get this stuff. It's available. It's historic, and it's Nintendo. And it's not that expensive in the grand scheme of things.
You're like, all right, I understand. You don't want the one that's a giant steering wheel just because it says Nintendo on it. Like, fucking whatever. Who cares? But TV Game 6, that's cool. It's the first Nintendo console. Like, you can't get the first Nintendo Hanafuda cards. Because even getting, like, pre-war Hanafuda cards is somewhat difficult. And you need, like, some kind of expert to tell you what is going on. Because there's over a century of history there. And it's complicated. And you're not just going to go and look up what's the cool thing to buy and go buy it. But here it's very clear. What's the cool thing to buy? It's a Color TV Game 6. Go get one. This went from stuff nobody collects to just me hyping up Color TV Game 6 because it's super cool. But I think we should also maybe care about all the dedicated consoles that came before Atari 2600.
I mean, it's everyone seems to think that their timeline for Nintendo in video games is like, the NES. I mean, Donkey Kong. They made Donkey Kong, right? And then you're like, well, they did stuff before that. And here's some of it.
Yeah, when did am I crazy? Like some of their arcade games are super early. When did Wild Gunman come out? I thought that came out in the 70s for some reason.
Which version? Because there's like a bunch of different Wild Gunmans. There's like the electronic version.
Yeah. So Wild Gunman, the arcade game, like the light gun arcade game, came out in 1974. So yeah, we think of like Nintendo, Donkey Kong and Popeye, because those were like the popular games during the golden age. They were making electromechanical arcade games in the 70s before that you've never even seen.
Yep.
I don't even know if that came out in America, but I mean, that's super cool. Like Nintendo's been making games a really long time. I think all of the early Nintendo stuff is cool, and there's so much of it. And like there's peaks, like certain Gunpei Yokoi toys, hundreds of dollars all of a sudden. And then there's like all this like random 70s Nintendo products just because there's so much of it. Like so much of it is like $10-$20 because like who wants it? And this is all we always hype before Mario because he's kind of the guy that posts about all this stuff. Definitely go to beforemario.com.
Yep, 100% you should. I think the other thing that I like about this stuff, and what we're talking about, everyone thinks Nintendo, maybe they think NES, maybe they think Donkey Kong, but like the narrative in history too is that it's like, Atari was first. And you're like, well, not really. Not in, like, Nintendo started making games before Atari. How do you feel about that?
What was Atari's first game?
I mean, the Atari didn't come out until like 77. Yeah,
but they made, like Alcorn made Pong in like 1973 or something. So,
I mean, but they had like Nintendo had electromechanical games before that with Gunpei Yokoi, right?
Yeah. What's the history of Atari? Did Atari do stuff before Pong? I don't know about.
I don't know.
Atari was founded in 1972, so basically no.
And Nintendo still had a game console before Atari did. Just saying. Something to think about.
Something to think.
Someone's going to correct it. Someone's going to be like, no.
You go down this path, and it's just like, well, I'm going to get a Magnavox Odyssey. I'm going to get the first thing.
But why though? Why not just go and buy early Nintendo playing cards?
Just go buy Stick and Rock. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. It was one or the other. It was Stick or Rock. We'll never know which was first. So you just got to buy both.
Here, you know what? As far as what you can collect the oldest of, pick up Rock because Rocks are still old. Stick can be new.
Whoa, this is new information. I've never considered it in this way. Canonically, Rock came before Stick.
Yep.
Rock was on Earth before Stick ever existed.
Well before.
Wow. This
Anyways,
is
you're welcome for
stuff.
solving this fucking mystery for you.
Carl Sagan is like, yes, this is all true. To play a video game, you must first invent the universe.
I love dumb arguments like this. It's like an exercise you do if you had to explain something to an alien, and it's like a dumb one. And I did like a really in-depth one for a speech class back in the day where you had to explain an instructional video on how to make something like benign. And I chose peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But if you think about what an alien would know, they're like, people are like, oh, you just take out the bread. And you're like, no. You have to explain to them what bread is. What is bread? Where does bread come from? You just like, everything just becomes the history of the earth to explain anything, which if you go back far enough, which I just think is funny. Anyways, it's kind of a joke.
Johnny.
Tyler,
I'm going to pick one game from each category, or one thing from each category we're talking about, that if you don't want to, become the early video game console guy, which you don't, it's weird. Obviously the TV Game 6 is going to be my pick for regular collectors of the first.
Okay, well, I'm going to say computer TV game because Nintendo loves Shakespeare.
Okay. Othello jokes. If you don't know, Othello is Reversi. I don't know what the difference is. I think I grew up calling it Reversi. I don't know why it's different. Are they different games or are they just the same thing called? Whatever. No, Johnny, let's move on to a different category of stuff no one collects.
Oh, like DVD games? We would love to talk about these dumb DVD games.
Oh, like the PlayStation 2? I mean, I think people do collect PlayStation 2. It's pretty popular right
now. I think they maybe collected that one a lot. No, I was thinking more of like, those DVD games that work on your Xbox and your PlayStation 2, but are actually just DVDs. Those are the first ones, right?
Okay, so you're talking about the set of DVD movies that come with playable Xbox console demos on it. So you can put it in your Xbox and play an actual demo of an Xbox.
No, I'm talking like Mad Dog 2 and like Time Warp, or Dragon Slayer 2 Time Warp, I should say.
Okay, all right. So DVDs, this amazing format, 1997. This is not a piece of magnetic tape that is rolling through your VCR. This is a digital disc, and we have interactive menus. This blew my mind as a kid that you could press the remote and something would happen on the screen while you're watching a movie, even though literally every video game ever made is way more advanced than any DVD menu has ever been. And I don't know why they were so slow.
Like Time Traveler.
Couldn't they just like load a little bit of that up and make it faster? But yes, all the games you're talking about, the digital leisure games, these are the only ones I've ever seen anyone collect. Dragon's Lair, Time Traveler, Mad Dog McCree 1 and 2. Like, these are games that I think maybe you would see in people's collection. And then you look into how many DVD games there are. And it's like, VGCollect.com has it as like an entire console because there are so many.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird ones. Like there's a lot more than those ones we just listed, but there are also the DVD menu games. Have you heard of Tea Society of a Witch? That's one I'd never heard of. Like it was like a 2002.
No, I've obviously never heard of that.
Oh, but what's the first one? Tell me the first one. What is this?
I found a list. I forgot where it was. It did not look like a very reliable or journalistic source.
Oh,
but DVDs were commercially released in early 1997. And I don't think, I'd love to be proven wrong, any of the initial movies that came out, there are like 15 of the first DVD movies. I don't think any of those had like game special features on it. But Adventures of Pinocchio, baby, also released in 1997, based on the release of the 1996 movie, a bad movie. It had 2 games on the DVD. It had a trivia game and a memory game. Now this is historic. Yeah, we're talking. Remember when special features were a thing, by the way? Remember when we cared about actually getting something with our movies? And it wasn't just about like, oh, I'm feeling like a Netflix night. Let's just like watch 3 straight movies in a row. You do that, right? That's not just me. It's just you guys.
No,
you don't watch movies from like midnight to 6 a.m. Is that just not a thing that people do? That's how I watch movies now. I used to like really sit down and enjoy the DVD, watch all the special features, watch the movie again with the commentary track. Now I just blow through 3 movies in a night, man.
So here's how I watch movies now. It's 10 o'clock. I'm super tired, but everyone's finally asleep and I can sit down in a quiet house and enjoy myself. I said 10, but it's more like 11. And I'm like, oh, I should try and watch this. And then I fall asleep like 20 minutes into it.
Ugh, you're one of the... You've got that mom energy. You're just falling asleep during movies.
Yeah, because I'm exhausted. But no, I make it through some movies now, but we're not talking about like what movies I watch. Who cares?
Yeah, this stuff, I mean, this stuff is stupid. But you know what? It's a major format. You probably remember playing these shitty games. And so there is a list of them. It's like on fandom.com. It's like something that is like so definitely wrong and incomplete. No one has like made a really, really documented full list of these. And I think there are more interesting ones than you would expect. So, you know, you've got like your Seen It, which is like movie trivia game or whatever.
Clue. Atmosphere? What about Atmosphere?
What's Atmosphere?
Atmosphere was like that board game, but came with the DVD and the guy interacted with you.
I feel like that's a different category almost. So that's like a separate. I want to talk about that later.
Yes, that's a separate category. It's not like a DVD menu game, but that is a game on a DVD. But Seen It is more. Seen It. Oh my God! Remember Seen It? Do you remember how many Seen It's there are?
There's so many.
Jesus Christ.
I used to get commercials for Seen It all the time. People must have really loved movie trivia in 2006.
Seen It. Hey, you want to play Lord of the Rings? Seen It? You want to play Friends? Seen It? No, I don't. Disney? Seen It?
Man,
we've got Seen It for everything. You've seen it, so let's play Seen It.
It must have cost them like $20,000 to make each of those DVDs, and then they spent like $5 million marketing them.
Dude.
You know, they've got like, you got stupid crap like that. You got Deal or No Deal. You got all these like karaoke type things. But then like, there's a legitimate like Dance Dance Revolution DVD game that works with a dance pad. And there's Humongous Entertainment Games, which were point and click PC adventure games. Children's entertainment games, but like real, legit high quality games, similar to like a Dragon's Lair is a high quality game.
Give people an example of what Humongous Games is, because you just said that, but that just sound.
So
like
if you are exactly, like 34 years old, like Humongous Entertainment was a big part of your childhood, and you go like plus or minus 3 years from that, and you don't know what I'm talking about.
Pajama Sam,
Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, Pajama Sam, Freddy Fish, Spy Fox. I don't know that Spy Fox is actually on DVD, but all those other ones are. There's a Putt Putt Saves the Zoo DVD. And there's one that sold on eBay a couple months ago and is sold for $70. So someone knew it's rare and thought it was cool enough to spend $70 on it. A Putt Putt DVD game. So, yes, it's not nobody collecting this, but do you know the guy who's collecting the Putt Putt DVD, the British release of it? Because you know what? It's probably like one guy.
I want to talk about some other ones. So, Tyler, you said there's other interesting ones, and I brought up Tea Society of a Witch. Do you know what kind of game that is?
No. Tea Society of the Witch? No. What is it? It's a horror movie trivia game, because they're all trivia games.
No, it's an interactive DVD. It's an anime play game. Did you know
is this
that
like
there's
some kind of hentai thing?
Did you know that they made a bunch of visual novels, a bunch of emojis that you could play on DVD menus?
I did find that out because when you get into like the later era, I started looking up some of the Japanese titles that were showing up, and it's like, We Love Master. And I put that in, and it's like clearly some like erotic anime thing. It's like, okay, I see what DVDs were selling.
You're like, safe search on. Bye. Anyways, so there was a bunch of these style games as well, because if you can make it weird, why not? Let's do it. Every game gets porn games. Every format gets a porn game, just about. There's a bunch of these emojis. This one's funny because some of these actually got English editions as well. But they heavily edited them, like all the nudity and stuff out. So it's like, what was even the point of this then? People were only playing it for this thing.
Wait until you learn that all nudity is censored in Japan, Johnny.
Oh, I understand. But all the explicit scenes were removed, and certain character paths were removed as well. There's also like a Dreamcast version of this. So anyways, use Tea Society of a Witch as your example and learn.
I don't think you should go for a complete set of these, although looking at it, I mean, it doesn't look like there's, based on this list at least I'm looking at, it doesn't look like there would be more than maybe a couple hundred. I'm sure if you get into Japan, there's probably some real weird stuff if you're getting into like visual novels, because it does seem like probably a decent format for visual novels. But like, I don't know. I think you could find some niche in here that's like worth collecting. Or, you could just go after like the basic bitch stuff. Like go get the digital leisure, like Dragon's Lair stuff. That stuff is super available. Like Time Traveler, that stuff comes up.
Yep. I mean, we talk about those quite a bit. Anyways, there's a whole world. And then there's, like I said, there's other style DVD games, Nightmare, Atmosphere. These are all of the same ilk, like board games that incorporated DVDs, which became games, and much in line with like your Seen-Its and stuff. Not
Yeah,
quite
I think
the
that's
same
like
as
a
the
different category of thing that is also worth collecting and thinking about as a category of, you know, what we consider video games. And so Nightmare and Atmosphere, which is spelled Fear, very spooky. I've never played those, so I don't know how much the video element is part of the game versus just guiding you through the game. But I mean, you might be able to literally play the game without the VHS, but if you didn't know what was on the VHS, could you play the game without it? And if not, does that make it a video game?
I don't know. I maybe. Also, yes, we're said DVD, but also these are their VHS versions of the same kind of stuff. There's other VHS games too.
Yeah, so the VHS stuff is crazy because there's
Like the
multiple
Action Max?
quote-unquote consoles that play VHS games. Yes, like the
Yes.
Action Max. So
I
Action
still
Max,
never found. I bought those. There was like a Halloween game I bought
it's like Pop's
on the
Ghosty,
Action
yeah.
Max, and it never came.
Oh no, that's worthless. You could probably get another one for $10.
I probably could, but I was
There's
like,
only one
buying it
expensive
twice
game.
feels bad.
So the Action Max, it's a VHS based video game console, and it just plays a movie that flashes like white dots on the screen at certain times that you have to shoot, and the Lycon registers if you shot the right thing, and it keeps score, and that's it. That's not the game. That's like the whole video game console is that. And so there's Action Max Homebrew that is just videos that have those hitboxes at the right spot. That's how easy it is to make a homebrew. You can literally make a homebrew video game in a video player because it's just a video. There's no logic to the game whatsoever.
It's now easier to make one of these games than to hook up a VCR to play them.
That's very true. There's a VHS series called Captain Power. This was an experimental TV show that like had segments of the show where the kids were supposed to like interact with their Captain Power toys with the TV. Like it would be like a shooting sequence, and you were supposed to shoot the TV with the toy or something. I mean, this was broadcast, so I don't know how interactive this could possibly have been. It's an interesting adjacent thing to video games. It makes me think about interactive video in a way. But the best and not collected yet most interesting VHS game, Johnny, it's the Viewmaster Interactive Vision.
What?
And you might have seen this before because they're not that rare, and you might have seen it on like a list of the worst video game controllers ever. It's like a single joystick at the end of a long bar, and there's colored buttons going down the bar, like pastel colors. There's like a pastel purple and yellow and blue. It's a big gray chunky thing.
I don't think I know what that is.
This is a fascinating video game machine. So it had the capabilities of it's compared to like a ColecoVision. So like the actual video games it could play like look like straight trash from the 80s. But
Hold on. I have a question. Is this like Viewmaster of like the Viewmaster that every kid had that like you put the slides in and
I believe it is that same Viewmaster doing something like some engineer there was like going out of control with video and making the most innovative thing anyone has ever made. It is.
Okay.
It's the red Viewmaster that did like the stereoscopic 3D thing.
You know, like weirdly, like Viewmaster also did like mini cameras for like Donkey Kong 2. They did some Nintendo stuff. There's weird Viewmaster stuff you can get into with Nintendo.
Weird. Anyways. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So the Viewmaster Interactive Vision, you would put a VHS tape in, and it could overlay graphics on the VHS, and then it had multiple audio tracks. So you would play like a game, you would have like Sesame Street characters talk to you, and you would make a choice, and then the video would keep playing, and it would switch the audio track depending on like what the kid did. So you would just see Muppets moving their mouth, but they would have the audio track for both choices to give the illusion that you actually affected the video. How cool is that? That's such a cool idea.
Dude, it is so weird. And they advertise Sesame Street straight up on the front of the console box.
Yeah, it's got, I don't know any games for this besides like Sesame Street and Muppets games. And this thing's like $100 to $200, like even complete. And the tapes are like $30. Like, that's cool. I don't know. Look into the Viewmaster Interactive Vision. People are investing in VHS tapes. They're buying like, I don't know, Terminator and Rambo. You say, no, I'm going to go to the Sesame Street console, the Viewmaster Interactive Vision. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have room in my life for this. I just like talking about giving people ideas of like interesting things to collect, Johnny.
I like that this has crossover appeal because there are people who just collect Viewmaster. That's a thing you can collect.
I think
Did you know
there's
a Pokemon Viewmaster? You can look at 3D Pokemon via the Viewmaster.
That is kind of cool.
You can
I think Viewmasters are really cool too, Johnny.
Super Mario Brothers 2. You can look at it in the Viewmaster. Viewmaster is like every kid had a Viewmaster, didn't they? They were just like the coolest little thing. You're like, these are cool for like 10 minutes.
It was a cool 10 minutes though.
It was a cool, like they were cool.
I'm looking at the history of Viewmaster. Those like little reels full of films, like those haven't changed since like the 1910s. That format has been around for a while.
There's a lot to explore in the Viewmaster world if you want to get into it. Like if you want some Nintendo ephemera, go buy a Viewmaster that advertises Super Mario 2 on it and the little packs of the things. That's going to be an item that no one has in their collection. I'm just saying.
I kind of like this. I did not plan to talk about this, and now I want to look at the Super Mario 2 Viewmaster. Wait, why does it look like real life? Are these not pictures of like the game? Oh my god, it's the TV show. It's the Super Mario Super Show. What am I looking at?
There's a lot of things going on. Anyways, you can buy like a box set that has Super Mario 2. It's got pink with Peach with the wrong color hair and everything, Toad. Yeah.
All right.
Look at the Super Mario 2 gift set. Anyways, this is stuff that no one collects, and I'm moving us on from VHS to Viewmasters now. So there it is. Get your Viewmaster Nintendo-related items.
Johnny, what are we going to pick from this category? What should someone who doesn't care about movie games collect if they're not going to get into movie games?
Are we talking all movie? Like, are we going into
anything? You can pick
stuff?
a DVD. You can pick a VHS. You could say everybody should buy the Viewmaster Interactive Vision console.
No one should buy that. Probably. I think it is the coolest thing on here, but I think you should just buy one of the basic bitch ones. Get your Dragon's Lair. Get your Time Warp. Get one of those because I think that's going to be the best one. Or go hard and get like some weird Japanese orojis. Like, why not? Just put them out there. Be like, who has this shit? Like, go. Yeah, I'm going to say that's my pick. Go weird. Go in and buy questionable material that might have the FBI knock on your door because that content is questionable.
So a lot of these, especially the digital leisure stuff, they'll say like directly on the box plays on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. And I think that's super cool if you collect PS2 and Xbox to get that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. Find a DVD movie that plays on a console that you collect. It's gonna be a unique thing to put on the shelf next to the real video games.
Right. I mean, and it's easy too because it just slots right in. You're just like, I put it next to my game. You don't have to like figure it out. Whereas if you bought like the Viewmaster Interactive, it's gigantic. Like, what are you doing with this box?
I
and then on top of that shelf, go ahead and get you the Super Mario 2 gift set because it's awesome.
Johnny.
Yep.
There is a topic near and dear to my heart that nobody collects.
Surprising.
Even me, I don't really collect this stuff.
Oh, this is my least favorite part on here.
Johnny, the most important video games are mobile games. Because video game collecting, or video games was like a thing for young males aged 13 through 15 for a long time. And then the thing that really broke video gaming out in the mainstream was the iPhone. Mobile games. That's your mom plays something. She plays Candy Crush. She plays some stupid slot machine thing. She has something on her phone. fucking around on our phone, because the average way to play a video game now is fucking around on your phone. Like when you see these statistics, like 78% of people play video games now. The average gamer is a 54-year-old woman. And it's like, yeah, because you're counting fucking around on your phone as if it's the same thing as playing the new Assassin's Creed game. So if we are including that expansive definition of video games, which I think is fair, I mean, they are video games, even if they suck. Early mobile games are important to building the video game industry.
Okay. I don't disagree in principle with that assessment. Okay, keep going. Keep it going. Tell me why I'm doing this. Tell me what I should be buying.
I'm going to talk about 6 phones, 3 of which I talk about
6
frequently.
of them?
Woo! All right. So, the Hagenuck MT2000.
The Haagen-Dazs what?
The Hagenuck MT2000. This is so funny. The only reason this phone has any clout at all is because people used to think years ago, like maybe a decade or more ago at this point, they used to think this had the first mobile game. Because I think Hagenuck, they were like what do you call people from Denmark? Denmarkian? Are they Dutch? What's the Netherlands? Denmark people. Anyway, they were like a mobile gaming company. They were like one of the first mobile gaming companies. And this phone had Tetris on it. But then when people looked into it more, they discovered they were wrong. This wasn't the first mobile phone with a game on it. There were 2 before it. There's the IBM Simon, which is a relatively rare, very high-end, expensive, almost like proto-smartphone. These all came out in 1994, by the way. That had a port of Scramble on it, which is like a Konami 2D shooter. Not like a word jumble game, like a legit video game on this thing. And then the Siemens S1 probably had the first mobile video game ever, but it was hidden. It was like an Easter egg that had a version of Tetris on it too. And that's kind of the trifecta of early 1993 rare, expensive early mobile games. All of these are expensive, hundreds of dollars, very hard to find complete in box in nice condition. I think you might have the best chance at an IBM Simon because it's such a unique piece of technology that I think collectors keep it in better condition just because it's so unique and weird. Like if you found an IBM Simon at a thrift store, you'd look at this like honking touchscreen phone thing from 1994 and you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm buying that. And the other ones are just like shitty old phones. So I love.
Would I say I'm buying that?
Yeah, you would buy an IBM Simon.
Oh.
I mean, if I would buy an IBM Simon, why wouldn't you buy an IBM Simon? So an IBM Simon, because we've got to paint a word picture here. Imagine a phone handset, like the size of a full phone. I'm talking like 2.5 inches across, 9 inches high. That format, like a legit phone, and it has like the speaker at the top where you put your ear up to it. And then the middle part is like a 1-inch skinny touch screen. It's the most insane looking thing you've ever seen. So you would buy it, and it was meant for like business people. It sold in like the tens of thousands. It sold miserably because it was so expensive. Because it was for like fancy rich people. It sold 50,000 units according to Wikipedia. The battery life 1 hour.
Oh God! What the? Old phones are supposed to have great batteries, not terrible batteries.
It got killed by flip phones. Flip phones came out, and everyone's like, "Why would I buy this absolute piece of dog shit?"
Fair question.
Yeah. It might be. Is it the first smartphone? Yes, I think this is considered the first smartphone. Man, the IBM Simon. I know it's not the first. I think the Siemens S1 technically the first with that hidden Tetris, but yeah, you want a piece of technology history. IBM Simon, it's hard to beat that, Johnny.
Sure. Okay.
Johnny, the Nokia 6110, the only one of these phones I've actually tracked down at a price I want to play. That's the first phone that included Snake. I think
that
Nokia
expensive?
Snake is an iconic mobile game. I bet if you go to the history of mobile games on Wikipedia, there's a section that starts with Snake.
Okay. All right.
Just gonna give me an okay on that.
Okay. Yeah. I find it hard to get excited about mobile phones and also Snake, but convince me. Tell me why I need to do this.
Did you have a phone with Snake on it at any point in your life?
I did. I mean, probably, but I don't like Snake, so I wouldn't have played it.
You just never played it? Oh, you kind of ruining my thing there. Because you think Wii Sports sold like 100 million whatever copies because it came with every Wii. And then Snake shipped like 4 times that on mobile phones.
Yeah,
I remember sitting in I was in like lines at Six Flags playing Snake. It was passing the time. I was waiting.
No,
for
man, I played solitaire.
Yeah, Solitaire's pretty good too. I didn't have any phones with Solitaire.
Yeah, once I got like the Solitaire that had like 12 different versions of Solitaire, I was like, all right, this is my poop game forever. And then I just stopped playing video games in the bathroom because I was like, what am I doing? Stop it.
You gotta get out of the bathroom. Guys, stop fucking around in the bathroom. If you like just poop and get out, it's like a 2-minute thing. You don't have to turn it into like this 7-minute. Like, wait, you're just like
7-minute,
like
a
dude, toilet with poop in it. What's going on?
People are just in the bathroom for 30 minutes now. Every time they go poop, it's 30 minutes they're back. I don't know what's happening to the world.
All right, so you don't have to buy any of those because that's for like the real mobile game historian. Like, you have to be like a technology enthusiast. You can go on YouTube and look at phone collectors. Like, they're the people who collect this. Phone collectors. That is a category of people. I would listen to a podcast from phone collectors. It is, for whatever reason, like, there's a type. Like, you think of like the average video game collector on YouTube, and they're a type. And like, I feel like they kind of slot alongside something like comic or magic card people, like a very like nerdy, but in a pop culture way type of person.
No, these are people who collect vintage electronics and not like the good stuff.
Yeah, the phone collector people, I feel like, are almost more adjacent to the type of people that collect vacuum cleaners. Like,
they are.
You see a table with 30 phones on it, and you're like, oh, it's an actual crazy person.
Yeah, and I feel like those people are closer to I built an old PC from 1982 so I could do this one thing. And you're just like, okay, great.
Yeah, Johnny. The most important thing that happened in the 20th century, it might have been 9/11 actually. One of the most important things was the release of the iPhone 1.
Pretty important.
It's like an important event in human history, and how much it has like absolutely fucked up the world and how people are addicted to their phones. We all carry one. There's like, what are there, 8 billion people on Earth? What, do 6 billion people have a smartphone every day? And a lot of those people have it as like their main computer and way they interface with the world?
Let's just talk about pinky dents, okay? And how they're a thing now.
Is that a thing? Because people like hold their phone?
Yeah, like because people hold their it's people act like this is a new phenomenon. It's like basically akin to Nintendo thumb. And if you don't know what Nintendo thumb is, if you play a lot of video games and your thumb doesn't just like stick straight up and suddenly it was like jutted back at the top for no reason, hey, you played video games. Congrats.
Cool. Yeah. It turns out, so this is, a lot of people don't know this. Smartphones are popular. And it wasn't, I know this might be shocking, it wasn't because of the IBM Simon. It was because of the iPhone. It's a very, 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 the most underrated video game platform. Like, not by people who think about the industry, but like game collectors like completely dismiss it. No one has an iPhone because they're thinking about collecting video games.
No.
I'm sure someone's going to ping me right now like, oh, I have an iPhone. I think it's the coolest thing. Yeah, I need to get one of these. Honestly, I thought they would be more expensive because vintage Apple tech is generally pretty expensive. Like, you want like an iPod 1? Like, it's not going to be like $50 like an old MP3 player. Like, an iPod 1 is going to be like some collectible hundreds of dollar price. If you want it like complete in box, nice and stuff.
Like, Apple collectors are already a thing. That's already a thing people do, so.
Yeah, so Apple collectors are a thing, and like, you think of what would an Apple collector want, and it's probably like number one is like a Macintosh, like a Mac Plus, And like, what's number 2? Like an iPod or like the first iPhone? Like this is like high up there on like the things that a Macintosh collector or an Apple collector would want. I mean, not like the most desirable things, probably like an Apple One, but like something that they would realistically want that they actually care about.
Probably a Zune.
Dude, I bet the brown Zunes are worth more than any other color Zune.
Brown Zunes are kind of expensive, legitimately, and I don't understand it. But
because that's the iconic thing. No one says, remember the Zune? They say, like, remember the brown Zune?
I had a brown Zune.
Hell yeah, dude.
I was like, I don't need to be trapped by Apple. And yeah, I have a fucking Zune. They should all be like $5, but yeah, if you want like a nice new old Zune, I think it's over like $200 for one. If you just want like a loose one, you can get them for like $30 or something.
Yeah, it looks like they're like $75, and there's guys out there replacing the batteries and flipping them for like $180, which is crazy. Maybe you don't need a Zune that bad. Also, man, a lot of Zunes were brown. I thought it was like a niche color.
Like, had this color come out in 1982, it would have made sense. But coming out in the mid 2000s, you're just like, what are you doing?
No, I like it. Because you remember it, Johnny, we're talking about an MP3 player that came out, 20 years ago? And we remember it because the color stood out so much.
I don't know what kind of brain rot I had where I was like, I don't want an iPod. I'm going to go get a Zune.
Yeah, I was a stupid hipster. I was like, the iPod, that's the popular thing. When like every time I used an iPod, I was like, oh my God, this wheel is so magical. This is so nice.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think I want to say I didn't have an iPod before that, or maybe I just had, I don't think I did. But I also didn't listen to a lot of music, so it didn't matter. I think something with audiobooks. Maybe I could get my audiobooks on it easier. I don't know. There had to be some reason I was doing this.
I don't know. I was in like high school, so this is when I was listening to the most music. I could have had 20 gigabytes on an iPod, man. That's so many gigabytes.
Yeah, I don't know what disease I had in my brain that made me do this. But hey, tying the Zune back to video games, there is a Halo 3 Zune. Did you know that?
I sure didn't. Should you buy it? Is that something you should collect? Should you collect the Halo 3 Mountain Dew game fuel?
Yes. In your bloodstream.
I know we're getting really off topic. I saved Halo 3 game fuel, like 20-ounce bottles of soda for like 10 years before I just threw them out. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I'm a hoarder.
No, you can get a Halo Zune for between $200 and $300.
Don't do that, guys.
And
I like Halo 3.
And
Maybe
they can go for
more.
more. Like they can go for as high as $400, which is crazy. Like if you want it in the box and everything. And if you're going to buy one, you might as well get it in the box. If you can find it for sub $100, get yourself that Halo Zune.
Johnny, going back to the iPhone price, I think surprisingly affordable, $200 to $500 complete in box. Like getting up to like the nicest ones, they're more of that.
For that kind of money,
range.
You could get a Halo Zune.
Oh my God. For like a landmark technological achievement in human history, I feel like that's cool. I mean, the problem is I think they maybe will all blow up. Like the batteries will expand and crack the screens or something. I don't know. I don't like collecting old batteries. I'm probably just not going to buy an iPhone now that I think about it. I think that's cool. Super important part of video game history. Johnny, what happened after the iPhone?
Hold on. But what if you just bought it and kept it in your refrigerator?
Yeah, that is a choice. You super could do that. Just keep it in the shed outside. Just have your iPhone shed. It's like, oh yeah, in case that thing lights itself on fire, I just have a separate shed for it.
What I'm saying is like you keep it in like an airtight container so you don't get moisture or anything in there, and just put it in your refrigerator so it's temperature controlled.
You just take it out of your fridge when you want to show guests. Like, check it out. I got an iPhone 1. Isn't that cool?
They're like, hey, what leftovers are these? You're like, oh, that's an iPhone.
Funny thing I picked up from people reposting social media, like Instagram pictures. Apparently, it is difficult, if not impossible, to tell what a legitimate iPhone factory seal is.
Oh,
I think
why is that?
People might not know what a legitimate factory seal is for the iPhone because at least someone bought like a sealed iPhone. Like this was like a speculative category. This is like part of like the 2021, like people are going nuts over everything, just absolutely losing their minds. I think someone bought a resealed iPhone recently. And when we're talking iPhone 1s, we're talking like multiple tens of thousands of dollars, which is out of control nonsense. I don't care that it's like the most important thing that humanity has ever made. That completely ruined the world. So, yeah, there's some drama in the sealed iPhone collecting community. And I don't know. I'm not on Instagram, so I didn't get the full gist of it. I just saw it was the dentist. The video gaming dentist, I believe he sold his sealed iPhone. And then now that he has sold it, he's going around saying like, well, this is a bullshit category because we can't tell which ones are factory sealed and which ones are resealed. Is
that the most important thing? If it's sealed or not? Is that where we've gotten to in life?
I mean, yeah, everything's if you don't own everything sealed, like why are we even collecting?
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't ever open anything, how would we even know it was good though?
If everyone kept their iPhone sealed, maybe Gen Z would get more dates because we wouldn't all be on our phones all day.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
So to get something, to know if something's good, we have to open it, and thus lies the paradox, right?
It is.
And then now we can be like, hey, look, I had this good thing and I never ever opened it. It's like, I guess congratulations.
Hey, Johnny, you just described why none of the limited run games will ever be worth anything. Why does everybody care? Why does everyone pay, $5,000 for a sealed Super Mario Brothers 3? It's because people opened it and everybody has a collective shared experience of how good that game is. And no one knows what the fuck you're buying from limited run games. And no one has any experience opening that because no one ever did open that.
Well, they're going to now as they just start to publish more and more normal games. So, but whatever. We're not here to talk about that right now, Tyler. Tell me beyond the iPhone in this category of dumb phone games and music players, because the Zune did have a game on it. And it's got, a Halo 3 version. Tell me, what should I be collecting in this? What else should I be doing?
Johnny, the iPhone changed the world, but there had to be a competitor, and it was Android, which I think is the most popular computing platform. I could be wrong. It might just be Windows. But Android is obviously ridiculously popular. As if I need to say that. The first phone was the HTC Dream / T-Mobile G1, which is what it was called in America. And it's so funny because you search for iPhone and like iPhone 1, first generation iPhone, you'll find resellers that have bins of them. You'll see like 20 lined up in a picture and it'll just be like, yeah, I'll send you one of these for $100. You look for T-Mobile G1, there's like one on eBay. It's $600. The Android phone is so much less popular and it's not an Apple product, so people didn't save them. And who the fuck cares about it? That there's none of these on eBay. And you know what? Out of all these phones, I'm going to say the first Android phone, maybe the least collectible, least exciting of any of these. But I thought I would mention that as there as well.
So what should we collect from here?
Johnny, no. What? Before we go on to that, before mobile phone games, there were mobile games on like PDAs. So
isn't that a different category though?
No, we're putting this all as just early mobile games. I don't want to talk about this category that much longer.
Okay.
You go back through the early 90s, you go through like Palm OS, PDAs. If you were there, you remember what Palm Pilots are. If you weren't, there were smartphones for super nerds who didn't actually have a phone or internet connectivity on them. But before Palm Pilots, before PDAs, we had personal handheld organizers. And one of the first ones of those was the Sharp Wizard OZ7000, Johnny. 1989. This thing, not only it's a little like notebook with like rubber buttons that you open up and it has a little screen on it and you'd like put in your address book and your to-do list and things like that. This thing had interchangeable cartridges. It's basically a video game platform. It came out the same year as the Game Boy.
That's interesting. How did this happen?
How did this happen? I have no idea.
How did this happen? I mean, how did it happen that it became a video game console? Because it's not that.
So you bought it, and the cartridge it comes with is like the organizer cartridge, and it handles like your contacts and whatever else handheld organizers did. And then you would change that out, and there's people have like complete in box cartridges on eBay, and it's like the financial spreadsheet cartridge. And you'd plug that in, and you would have new buttons related to the spreadsheet software. And then, like, the other side of this organizer is like a keyboard where you actually enter in all your data. This is a super weird thing. I feel like maybe look up the Sharp Wizard series. What a weird, stupid thing. And I only bring it up because it did have an expansion card with Tetris on it. And then there was also Sokoban and Backgammon. No one's going to care about this. This is not important in the history of mobile phone games. Johnny, if I'm going to pick something from this category, go get an iPhone 1. If you aren't worried about it burning your house down, that's one of the most important things basically ever. So go do that.
I mean, that's pretty important. Or, might I suggest, the Halo 3 Zune. I want to talk about VHS tapes. You like VHS tapes, Tyler?
No, I don't like VHS tapes.
Why not?
They're big, and there's like a weird mold problem with them. I don't know a lot about VHS mold. I'm not like a serious
They don't
VHS
hold
guy.
up well.
I never want to watch them. Like, I want to play an Atari game, but I would never want to watch a VHS tape, obviously.
So we talked about VHS games, and there are a bunch of games that have like TV shows like anime and cartoons like, Mario. We talked about Mario. Zelda had one. Lots of these things had like VHS tapes of their episodes, but that is not what I'm talking about, Tyler. Not these VHS tapes. Let's talk about those promo tapes that Nintendo sent out, and they're all over the place. You see them all the time, but no one really collects them. There's a couple of lists on the internet. Some of them get it right. Some of them get it wrong. Not all the time do you even see pictures of all of them.
These no one collects Nintendo Power ephemera? Do you think Stefan doesn't have all these tapes?
But this isn't specifically Nintendo Power. So some were given out, and they were just sent to you if you were a Nintendo Power subscriber. Some of them were in Toys R Us's. Some were given out as pre-orders. Some are pre the N64 that are also in these types of tapes. Also, I don't want to confuse these type of promotional tapes with other promotional tapes. So like THQ might send you like a video of their latest game showing a demo back in the 80s and 90s. That's not what this is. This is, because that's like promotional material for a very select group. This was like more general audience promotional material. Like this could go out to the public. That was like more press stuff, reviewer stuff. This is that stuff that is out there that you could go collect it if you wanted to. And there was a bunch of them. I mean, there's also, like I said, lots of these other types of promotional tapes that were sent out. There's like Capcom did a whole series, so you could go find an Aladdin. Nintendo did a bunch. You want a Mario Paint tape? You can go get one. A Japanese one, VHS. It's on eBay right now. Go spend $100 on it if that floats your fancy. But these are the ones you're thinking of. The people call me N64 ones, but it's actually pre-N64 that they started doing these.
I don't know, Johnny. I was like 9 years old when N64 was a thing, so I remember the N64 tapes that Nintendo sent to me.
Well, it started before that, and actually, I believe the first one is Donkey Kong Country Exposed, which came out in 1994. I'm sure if you Google this tape, you will have seen it before. But there's a less common one, Journey Through Yoshi's Island, also 1994. That one is pretty popular. It's got some Mario art on it with the Yoshis. That one's always going for like $75 to $85. Some of these are a little collectible. People are looking for them. They'll sell for some money, but a lot of them these are going to be like 10 to 15 bucks. And I'm just going to run down the list. There's not that many. The Invasion of Nintendo 64, the Challenge System, that's 1996. Star Fox, 1997. The Hot Topic one, Diddy Kong Racing. That's 1997. Nintendo 64 introduces 3 new ways to bring it. And that's got like Kobe Bryant, a couple other games on it. And that's 1998. Banjo-Kazooie, 1998. A sneak peek at Pokemon, 1998. Here's my favorite title. Hot News 64, 1999.
Got that one.
Yep, it's got a Z on it. Thank God we put a Z on. It's just like, why? Anyways, here's the one that I think most people have. If they have one, it's The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask hot video preview from 2000. So that one's like kind of all over. There's the Walmart one. That was Hey You Pikachu from 2000. And then there's some other promo tapes you can see out there. Like I said, one of the big ones like Rayman's Dream Team, which I've seen in this format. I'm not sure if that was specifically a promo one or if that was like a promo for like the news or general audience one. But I've seen this one out there and no one puts it in their list. So I'm not sure where to put it exactly, but it looks like the N64 ones in format. So I'm putting it out there. That's a preview of Rayman 2 and the other Rayman game, and then Tonic Trouble or something. It's very weird. And it's even got like the Tonic Trouble N64 edge. So you could confuse it for a video game if you weren't looking carefully. And then
that VHS tape put in a lot of work because everyone talks about Tonic Trouble these days because we all bought it after watching that tape.
We sure did. And then there's some other like big N64 ones. Because like I said, most people can associate this with the N64. But there was that Conker's Bad Fur Day. This is a press kit. The Mad Squirrel Disease one. It comes with like some pills in it, a tape, a shirt, the game as well, and the VHS. So that's a thing that's out there. And I was once given advice by Tyler, and I just want to tell you what this advice was. Forget about Europe. But I didn't do that, Tyler. I didn't forget about Europe. There are 2 tapes that were specifically released in the UK, and these were Famicom ones, Super Famicom, Perfect Video. I don't know why they're calling it a Famicom one because it was a Super Nintendo in Europe. Anyways, Perfect Video and Super Mario All-Stars. Anyways, go check those out.
All right. I don't like VHS tapes, Johnny. I remember getting the N64 ones, and I still don't have them in my collection.
They're everywhere. Like, if you just bought video games, you just wound up with a few for some reason. I have like 3, and I hate VHS tapes.
Yeah, I think it's cool how ubiquitous they are, so it's really easy in a world where like something like, I don't know, what does Donkey Kong Country complete in box cost now? Like $100? Like we're getting up to Donkey Kong is somewhat expensive a video game, but the Donkey Kong Country exposed tape, I don't know why like some of these have higher print runs than others, but there are so many of this Donkey Kong Country exposed tape. It's like $10 on eBay. So if you got the $100 copy of Donkey Kong Country, just like get the $10 VHS to go with it. Like it's kind of a cool set. Like getting the Banjo-Kazooie VHS to go with your game is like kind of a cool set. When the Banjo-Kazooie tape is $15, it's got like 3 inserts in it too. It's like it feels like you're getting something with it, not just the tape.
There's usually a coupon book in there, or some other little item that comes slipped in with the tape. So if you're gonna get it, don't like they're so ubiquitous. Don't buy it without all the little things that were tucked inside. Get it right. Spend the extra $1.
Don't go crazy, Johnny, but there's also like variants. Like some of these boxes have brown interiors, some have white interiors. There's a Sears variant of the Donkey Kong Country exposed. It's the only one on eBay, and it sold like it was like one of the cheapest ones that sold. I don't know. Someone screwed up there. That Sears one, someone got a great deal. It was $10.
Got a good deal. I bet that person was like, finally, the Sears variant I've been waiting for. Or they were like, oh shit, there's a Sears variant? And then they snapped it off real quick.
No, it was an auction. Everyone, you guys were sleeping. This happened last month. You guys missed the Sears Funtronic, The Making of Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, man. Anyways, which one should you buy, Tyler? If you're going to buy one, I say buy The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask hot video preview.
Is the Donkey Kong Country one the first one?
Yes.
All right, I'll just get that. I think it's so ubiquitous that it is like semi-iconic as a VHS, and that it was probably the first one that Nintendo Power sent out. So,
And
you know
if you want a more collectible one, get a Journey Through Yoshi's Island.
Is that I'm going on eBay right now. I'm looking for Yoshi's Island VHS. How collectible is this, Johnny?
$75.
Wow, this is expensive.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a way better looking box, man. Yoshi's Island has some art.
Told you. Why do you think that
there's a
one's
bunch of
$75?
these. They're not like common. I don't know. There's like a bunch of them. Why are they all sealed? What's going on? Don't spend this money on a VHS tape, but do spend this money and get this graded by CGC. You'll probably make money somehow. I don't know. The magic of grading.
Yes, turn your trash into treasure. Grading. It's like turn your trash into treasure. Find out if grading is right for you.
You know, the same way you feel like old consoles deserve to die because no one remembers like playing them, so who cares? Like, I feel that way about VHS tapes. Just like, you know what? If all this stuff dies, like, what are we losing? Who cares?
No, I hate VHS tapes.
Don't buy this stuff. I'm not giving a recommendation. Don't buy that Donkey Kong VHS. You don't need that. Stick to games. You're a game collector. You're not a garbage collector.
Yeah, there are lots of like weird promo stuff from like the old Zelda show and all the Marios. There's like a lot of VHS stuff you could really trap yourself into buying that like feels game related and isn't. There's like a lot of strategy videotapes. Like I've got a post Sega tips videos. There's lots of that kind of stuff out there. Don't buy this stuff. Ignore it. It's not that collectible. I know it's stuff like how about stuff people don't collect, and that's like how you can get a leg up. That's not how you can get a leg up here. That's how you become a hoarder.
I like how you say getting trapped. One of the things I remember, like way early on when I was collecting, was the Nintendo Power strategy guides they sent out, like what was called like the Nintendo Game Atlas and the official Nintendo Power Player's Guide. I think that they like Ninja Gaiden 2 one, they did a Super Mario 3 one. So I got like a couple of those, and then I felt like, oh, I have a couple of these. I guess I got to buy the set now. So if I got like the couple N64 tapes I like, I would be looking at that set and be like, oh, they're only like $15 each, and then I would just like start completing the set because I'm a hoarder and I would get trapped.
Yep, don't do it. Don't do it.
VHS tapes also take up more space than video.
The answer is to buy none. And if you want one, pick one. Don't buy the set. Anyways.
Besides Hey You Pikachu, those N60, like, because the Rare and Nintendo N64 games were like the only super popular, super good ones. I know that's not 100% true, but all these games, they're like the biggest games on the system. So like that is kind of a cool set for N64.
Yeah. I mean, that's something, I guess.
All right. Yeah, you want to talk about something more collectible? Is that what you're saying?
I would love to talk about anything more collectible than VHS tapes, yes.
Johnny.
And there are weird collectible, like a lot of stuff, like a lot of games are based off anime, so you get a lot of like collectible anime VHS tapes, but that's not what I'm talking about here.
Johnny, one day I will inspire someone to collect mobile phone stuff. A video game collector, not a mobile phone collector. I want a video game collector to dabble in the weird world of mobile phone collecting.
Okay.
The other thing I want to do is I want to inspire an NES collector to admit that every piece of NES software, Famicom software, counts. And what I mean by that is Nintendo on a chip hardware, Famiclones, basically. No. All the games that were ever made for anything count in a spiritual way as part of the NES set. So if you have no idea what I'm saying right now, in like the early 90s, I was just gonna say geniuses, some engineers in China, they took the NES, the Famicom, the chips. So there's the CPU, there's the PPU, and I'm not an engineer, I don't know. And they combined them into a single chip. And so that single IC was an entire NES on a chip. And so if you wanted to make, and they produced these by like the billions. They were so cheap. So if you wanted to make a piece of hardware that ran games, one of your cheapest options was to literally program for the original Nintendo and have it run on that. And like they didn't do this because it's like a great platform for games. It's because they were farting out like billions of pirated NES things, like 9,001 game consoles with all the NES games on it. So because this hardware is so ubiquitous and so cheap, there are developers in China who were making Nintendo games throughout the 2000s into the 2010s. I don't even know. I haven't checked now. I would not be surprised if there are still people who are just like full-time NES developers for some reason, making software that runs on this garbage. But a recent example, like a couple years ago, probably a few years ago at this point, there was that Oregon Trail handheld. Do you remember that Oregon Trail handheld that came out?
I do, yeah.
That's an NES port of the Apple II version of Oregon Trail. So you are playing on Nintendo hardware when you're playing on that. That's not running an Apple emulator. They ported it to Nintendo. How crazy is that? That's so weird that's how they do things.
It is very weird. I don't understand how this started becoming a thing, really. It's just, there's so many, Tyler. There's so many. Tell me more about them, though.
The hardware is so cheap that it's literally cheaper to pay a guy to port your games to Nintendo hardware. Sometime, I mean, not all the time. Like I think it's got very many limitations. Another big one, the original Atari Flashback. Those are not Atari games. You were playing NES ports of Atari games on the original Atari Flashback. And then the Atari Flashback 2 is kind of a real Atari in some way, I think. And then a lot of the other ones are just emulators. But yeah, Atari Flashback is like kind of a fascinating line of consoles. But besides all this, like besides like remakes and ports and stuff, like I'm talking New York Times Sudoku. There's a plug and play like stupid thing like that. I always bring this up because it's such a weird thing that the New York Times had a thing. That's a Sudoku game ported to Nintendo. So if you have one of those, that's a physical Nintendo game, not part of your set of 677 games. You can consider it basically an unlicensed Nintendo game, though. And yeah, maybe it doesn't plug into your console, but the software on there could run on an NES. And that's cool.
Okay.
That's so cool. I love this stuff, Johnny. When you go to like Walgreens, sometimes you'd see like, yeah, we've got like Space Invaders and Pac-Man arcade machines. Some of that stuff, especially like the cheaper stuff, would be running on Nintendo on chips.
Yeah, I think some of this stuff is pretty neat. It's a neat idea. For me, it's a cooler idea than it is a physical reality. Like, I like the idea that these things were created and had to be made for Nintendo. What I would like is to them all be packaged on one thing, because the idea of collecting all of these things sounds insane.
It sounds very difficult. And
yes.
You know what? I've been preaching this for a long time now. I know, like, I'm never.
I didn't even know about it until I met you.
Yeah, but like the problem is, like, I'm talking about like New York Times Sudoku. Like, I'm talking about like IBM Simon. Someone sees an IBM Simon. It's like this giant handset with a touchscreen that you've never seen anything like, and you're like, yeah, I gotta throw this thing on eBay. New York Times Sudoku plug and play video game. You're throwing that in the garbage if you find one of those. I feel like the clock is ticking on this stuff. Like, we have it's probably really hard to find a lot of Nintendo on a chip plug and play stuff if you're looking for like specific games. So Joe, hey, have your ears perk up. I'm talking to you. You want to collect all the Nintendo games. You have stadium events. You're going after like Saturn games because you want everything Nintendo. This is still the final frontier, and I think it's only getting harder to get this stuff. So that's my soapbox. I'll talk to you guys in 2 years and try to beg someone to care about this stuff.
Yeah. That sounds like a fine thing to maybe buy one of and be like, okay, this is a mistake. Let's not do any more of this.
All right. My pick of this category is the Konami Collector's Series Arcade Advanced Plug and Play, Johnny. This is great. This was all right. Oh, all the GBA people's ears perked up because that's a GBA game. But it was also a plug and play. And this is fascinating because...
It's also a PC game.
Yeah. Well, the PC game probably has the real games on it. But the GBA version is actually an NES emulator running Nintendo ports of the arcade games. And the same thing with the plug and play. And I believe like 4 out of the 6 games had a Nintendo, like a Famicom or NES version that they just ran, but they made original ports of like, it was like Time Pilot, and one of the other games has an original port to Nintendo just for this stupid like multi-pack. Like, this is a multi-pack of arcade games. You would think it's the most zero effort thing in the world. They just like fart out their existing code onto a cartridge, but they ported Time Pilot to NES so they could run an NES emulator on GBA. Why did they do that? I love it. I love it.
I don't have any good reasons, except it must have been cost effective.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm getting like all excited about this, and like the reason any of this exists is just because it was like the cheapest thing for the business to manufacture. Tyler loves business efficiency.
Yeah. So would you say then that people should only collect these older ones, or should we collect all the new mini trash systems as well?
What are you talking about? What's
Like,
a mini trash system?
All the classic series, NES Classic, Super Nintendo Classic, all this stuff.
Are you trying to like transition into like the next category, or are you being...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
All right, no. So I don't think like all that's different. So all that stuff, like all this modern mini console stuff, those are all shitty emulators. Like they did not put any work into this. Like the Nintendo on a chip stuff is fascinating because people are programming new NES games. And like NES Classic, that is literally, that's the farting out your existing software onto a thing and throwing it out there. And everyone who says that thing has good emulation is wrong and knows nothing about Nintendo games. And I hate every technical outlet that reviewed it. But if you want to go to the next category, Johnny, obscure modern consoles, which I think is slightly different than talking about Atari Flashback and New York Times Sudoku. Wikipedia they have a list of micro consoles, they call these.
Good Christ.
So
which generation are these micro consoles,
who
Tyler?
Fucking cares, dude? I'm sure they're like 7th or 8th if you want to give them a number. We are talking about...
the 7th generation, just so we're clear, started with the Xbox 360, okay? Also contains the Wii and the PS3. So you know, that's 7th generation.
I think more people use the numeric generations than you give credit for, Johnny.
No, I'm sure they do, but that's because somebody put that out, and that's just like, oh, God.
And it doesn't make, like, everything is so mixed up and intertwined now. Johnny, I bet people listening to this show have something like an Android gaming platform, like the Ouya, like the Nvidia Shield, the Nvidia Shield Pro, the Amazon Fire Stick. Like, people bought these on sale. They just got them from Amazon, and they don't think twice about it. They probably played it twice, and they're like, well, that sucked. And, like, some of you guys probably still have it under your TV because you don't do a good job at cleaning up.
Hold on. Speaking of that, what's the oldest system you have under your TV right now?
PS3?
PS3? Okay.
Because I used my PS3 to play Blu-rays for a long time, so.
Fair.
So in terms of, I think people have these, but I don't think people pay them any reverence. I think similar to how when you opened up a Nintendo game as a kid, you just immediately threw out the packaging. No one has saved the packaging to the Game Stick, to the Amazon Fire Cube, whatever that thing was. And you know what? All right, in some sense, like, yes, these are all just Android garbage consoles that don't matter. But, like, you could pay this some level of reverence because these are gaming platforms that no one cares about. I don't know. I maybe don't. But also, like, OnLive, the 2010 service OnLive was a streaming game service. It was the same thing as Google Stadia, also dead in the same category. You would stream your inputs to OnLive. They would stream the game video back to you in 2010. Like, we didn't even have gigabit Ethernet or gigabit internet back then, and they were doing this.
Sounds terrible.
So like if you have a complete in box one of those, like, I don't know, it's something. No one has it. I wouldn't collect these, but it is, I don't like seeing segments of video games that just because they're not the fucking GameCube, like, it's trash. There's no like, yeah, this is like garbage that we don't care about, but like no one cares about this. No, can you imagine if you saw someone with like a boxed Amazon Fire Cube in their collection? You'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? But that's why no one collects it.
Yeah, I would have questions, but I would also have questions if you had like an Ouya or an NVIDIA Shield. This is just, I think these are just like going to be in the dumpster of history as the big consoles transition into a cloud-based thing. And my friend was actually asking me about this the other day, where I thought video games were going. And I'm just like basically everything is going to be a Steam Deck, right? Like that's the world we live in. Every console wants to be a Steam Deck, and who can play their cloud games fastest and get away from physical media. That feels like the direction we're going.
Oh, I was wondering what you meant by be a Steam Deck. That's so weird because the PC people, we just like ripped the Band-Aid off with digital gaming so long ago. And I feel like with consoles, they've been so tiptoey about it. Like, well, Microsoft came out and they're like, fuck you, you're not going to be able to share your games with anyone anymore. And then they had to like walk it back because there was such a huge backlash. There was gamer backlash because gamers are just like, they'll complain about everything.
They're like, I'll never be able to sell my games. But then video game companies introduced the Video Game Pass, and they're just like, I don't own any of my games anyways. Who cares?
Yeah, it's trash. And you guys aren't going to be able to sell your games soon. And man, console digital prices are out of control. Steam prices are like way better than consoles. But man, there's a Steam sale going on right now, Johnny. And like people still post the memes of like, oh no, my wallet, the Steam sale's coming. Have you guys been to a Steam sale in the past 5 to 10 years? When was the last like amazing Steam sale? Like 2014? Steam sales used to be like 75% off whatever game was on your wish list. And now everything on my wish list is 20% off because that's the minimum threshold so that Valve will email me that a game on my wish list is on sale. That's the only price anything goes on sale anymore. I don't think I've ever seen Cuphead. Cuphead's like a pretty old game at this point. It's like a $20 game. I know it's worth it. But Cuphead, I think the lowest I've seen it on sale is for $14. I've never seen Cuphead for 50% off. And people are like, oh no, the Steam sale's coming, my wallet. Fuck off. They did the thing. They tricked you. They got you. They had like the lost leader for years. They're like, oh, Steam sales are the best thing ever. And now the prices have not been as good lately. And then they get a little bit worse. Now we're at like 20, 25% sales. That's like a fucking TJ Maxx sale. And people are acting like it's the craziest thing in the world.
Isn't it the craziest thing in the world?
That's my rant about Steam sales. Stop getting excited over Steam sales. Just stop. Like, Steam sales were so good that you would buy games that you knew you would never play. And like, for 25% off, you're not buying games like that. So fuck the sale. Just buy the games you want when you want them. If you buy 2 games at 25% off and you only play one of them, like, you might as well have just bought the game you were going to play when you were going to play it and then never bought the other game.
Oh, all right, man. That's great advice, Tyler. That's an excellent way to frame that for people. Yeah. Because that shit happens all the time. You're like, well, maybe I could get 2 at this price then. And you're like, but if you never do anything with it, you just spent more money than if you would just bought the first one at full price that you were going to play.
If you buy 5 games at 80% off, like it makes more sense that you're more likely to play 1 or 2 of those. But like when it's 25% off, like what are we doing, guys? Anyway, games are getting more expensive, and we're fucked, and everything wants to be a Steam Deck, Johnny. You know, I think, yeah, you're right. All these are garbage. I think it'll be interesting to see someone pay reverence to them. I don't know if you're like an Android game fan or whatever. Ugh. I think the Ouya kind of sticks out. Ouya, for whatever reason, has a little bit more clout. I think it was like the first was it like the first Android console that came, like, standalone console type thing? I remember it had like a Kickstarter. I remember the controllers were garbage.
It had a bunch of controversy. It took too long to come out. had a weird name, like, but there was like preview videos at GameStop and stuff for it. I don't know. It just always looked like trash to me. Also, it has a stupid name.
I think it looked like trash to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what fits in this category when it comes out, Johnny? The Intellivision Amico. That's definitely coming out. I hear they posted a new roadmap recently.
Oh, good. Is it a roadmap to your dollars?
No, because you should have already pre-ordered it, so they already have your dollars.
Oh, excellent. They're just like, publish a roadmap so we can't be sued for stealing those people's money.
Hey, Johnny. Remember before COVID?
Well,
how long ago that was?
I do.
So 2 years before that is when the Intellivision Amico was announced.
Ooh.
And
Cool.
it's still not out. That's how long the Intellivision Amico we've been dealing with this.
So the PlayStation 4 was still new. Excellent.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Don't say that. We're talking, oh my goodness. All right.
I just want to talk about just the NVIDIA Shield for a second. Because have you ever seen a dumber controller in your whole stupid life?
I kind of like the NVIDIA Shield controller. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit,
What?
It's like angular and pokey, but I don't know.
Imagine if Rocks and a controller had a baby. You too can play the NVIDIA Shield.
All right, so if you haven't seen the NVIDIA Shield control, it looks like one of those super polygonal faces, just like a bunch of triangles, but it's that in like a controller form. Like it's really polygonal,
yeah.
has a lot of like pokey parts coming out of it. I kind of like it. It makes it like textured.
No, it's like, hey, you never want to have this thing be comfortable? Great. Look at these edges that just jut out for no reason.
It's pretty comfortable. It's a good size. I'll take it over a PlayStation controller. It's not the highest quality controller in the world. I played some like Overcooked on it.
No, thank you. Then there's like they also made like 5 different things of these. They tried to build it as a media server. I'm not okay with the NVIDIA Shield, but it does sell as a media server. People buy it for this. So
I think it's mostly like people use them to like stream Plex things, and it's kind of game or like to watch Netflix on their TV because they don't want to use their TV apps or their game console for whatever reason.
It has this. The reason this is my pick because at least this thing has a function. If you're a weirdo,
I mean, you would just buy this to use it. You wouldn't buy this to collect it, though.
Yes.
Okay.
If I'm gonna collect something, I'm gonna buy the PlayStation TV because that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't count because people would collect those by default. Also, remember when the PlayStation TV went from like $20 overstock to $200 overnight? That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
Johnny, are we done with this episode? Or are you actually going into the last?
No, I'm gonna talk about VTech because here's a thing that nobody collects: old education. So, do you know about VTech? Do you know what this company is? VTech.
Yeah, I had a VTech laptop growing up. That was probably my first quote-unquote computer.
Well, that was a child's laptop, right? That you could play some
Johnny,
games
it
on?
had, I think, a little input. Like the screen was like 3 lines of text. It was like a full-size 15-inch laptop screen and like maybe a 3 by 1 inch actual display in the middle of it.
Oh, good. So, they are a electronic company that's been around for a little while, since 1976. They've been making educational games and just like little handheld games. But the other big thing they make is phones. So if you're not sure what's going on, and you're like, I think I have some VTech stuff. You might have an office phone made by VTech. You may have had a VTech cordless phone in your house in the early 2000s. But they also have all these edutainment games. They try not to build them exactly as edutainment games. They're like, we build edutainment consoles and games for people of all ages. No, this is like all kid stuff. But their first handheld actually came out in 1979. Did you know this?
1979. We're talking like not long after electronic handheld games started existing. Because I think 1976 was the first one, which was Mattel Auto Race. Think
of Tiger Electronic, like the little, think of, Mario. Think of these kind of the Zelda, your little rectangle games that you just picked up and held, the little LCD games. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. They had a bunch, not nearly as many as Tiger or anything like that, but they were making games. Again, 1979, it was Mini Game Machine and Soccer 2. And then there was Game Machine, Soccer 3 is in the 80s. They don't get any big titles. It's not like stuff you're going to super recognize unless you had one of these. They did move on to versions that had removable consoles. They even went to 2-screen and 3-screen versions of games. So, there was a tri-screen, there's bi-screens and tri-screens and single screens. But VTech, what you probably recognize them for is their smartridges. Have you ever heard of a smartridge before today?
I would say of a certain generation, people recognize them for their children's fake laptops. But no, I've never heard of a smartridge. And I thought I just listened to the Collector's Quest episode on cartridges. So why didn't I hear about this?
So they made a bunch of like consoles, like the V Smile and the V Flash, I think it's called in Europe. And it's just a bunch of cartridge games. A lot of them are just like Flash animation games that like you just choose an option. So think of Dragon's Lair type of games. And they're trying to teach you things. If you're also thinking of VTech, you're probably thinking of like a bunch of like baby toys that also have electronics in them. They're a weird company. And they're blending games and entertainment in all sorts of ways. There's like scoreboard games. So they'll have like a basketball game, like, so a kid, like, it'll be a thing like shoot 3 baskets in a minute or kick 3 goals into the soccer net in a minute. And you have to like accomplish this as a child to score. But then they also have like hook this up to your TV and play it with the world's ugliest, weirdest controllers, like giant, colorful buttons, big, easy to use joysticks because they're for kids. But they're just, for the V Smile, and look, I'm not going into all these. I don't know what came out before the V Smile. There's cartridges and there's disc-based, and all these kind of roll up into the V Smile, but the V Smile is backwards compatible with all of their like ones that came before it. But lots of big properties is the thing that really stands out to me. None of these are collectible, by the way, but you have unique games on this, Tyler, and that's what I'm interested in. Unique. Like, these aren't like, there's a bunch of Scooby-Doo games, Shrek games, Disney games, so many Disney games. You have Spider-Man, Batman, Star Wars. All this stuff exists, and they are unique games, not on any other system except these. And they are video games in every sense of the word. Like, you know, that, like, if you're encapsulating if Dragon's Lair is a video game, these are video games as well. What are we doing with these? These are all falling into the garbage bin of history. If you look at like VTech and under the video game categories in eBay, sold sort by high, there's not even like that one weird one that sticks out because it's kind of expensive and somebody wanted it. None of it. It's all just trash. And it's not like it was just here in America. It's in South America, Europe. I don't know what it did in Asia, but I definitely know that it's in those countries. So it's a weird thing. It just has too many licenses and too many properties for it not to be acknowledged in any sense of the way. And it's had me thinking about it for a long time.
It's because it has that like really early childhood energy. Like, you know, Nintendo was for kids, but when you were a kid, you were playing like, you know, Super Mario Brothers and Kirby, which are awesome games. You weren't playing like My Pet Puppy Teaches Me Vocabulary. So
yeah, this is definitely in that realm, right? And I just it's weird because it's everywhere, but it is literally in the garbage of history. So if you go look at these, you know, you can see there's over 80 games for the Smile, but there's like a cookie and cream game on here, a Dora games. It's just like 3 individual Spider-Man games at least. Like, what is happening? How does this game just go under the radar this hard?
I'm guessing like obscure console people like definitely know about this and collect this. It might not be obscure enough for them to really be interested.
It's not really obscure. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's like it's it's like I mean, not right now, but like in its heyday. I think it stopped being made in like 2010, and I'm sure they have other versions. But yeah, this thing was everywhere. You just saw these dumb VTech cartridges. They're like purple. Like sometimes if you bought a lot of games, you'd find one of these dumb VTech cartridges in there and you just toss it in the trash. So you're like, what am I doing with this thing? Nothing forever. But yeah, it's out there. I'm not advocating that anybody collect it. I just think it's interesting that it exists. And VTech claims it's the world leader in edutainment and toys for kids, right? That's their claim. So this to me says there's a lot of people who had this in their childhood from like 2004 to 2010, or 2002 to 2010, like this specific style. Are any of these people ever going to care? Because right now they're still too young, right?
No, what you mean they're still too young, Johnny? I grew up with a VTech laptop. We could talk about that entire other series of things. VTech has obviously made a shitload of things.
But this
no,
is
I'm not going to care about my VTech laptop.
No, I'm talking about it ends in 2010. So I'm just saying, are the kids that had that one still too young? Because that only puts them at 14. Or
yeah,
I
but
guess that's if they're
made
0.
other games.
They're
no one
18,
cares about VTech
20
games.
I know, but
the only thing interesting here is it is a unique category of video games they kind of cornered the market on until smartphone games, in which you can give a smartphone to a baby now. But so there's so many different consoles and stuff. One of their consoles, the V-Smile Baby Infant Development System. This is a cartridge-based video game system. You had to buy separate cartridges one at a time, and it's meant for kids as young as 9 months old. It's literally just a platform with a bunch of colored buttons on it. Giant colored buttons. It looks like a baby toy. Because it is. Because what 1-year-old can play a video game? What is this? There's no video games that look like this. Should you collect it? I don't know. Probably not. They're on eBay. They don't cost anything. Well, it's a unique thing, though.
Yeah. But also, in the 90s, they made a bunch of, electronic toys, too. Electronic, board games. Go look at Castle of Doom by VTech. VTech is just a weird company. I just don't understand. I feel like they have someplace somewhere and they're still making stuff. They've got a Bluey time laptop now. What does VTech, where does it fit? Do they fit anywhere, or are they forever going to be this weird, relegated to educational toy? No one gives a shit about them. But then they also have shit from 1979, 1980, handhelds that people talk about Tiger games, but they don't look at these. I don't know. VTech is so weird. It's a weird thing.
I think Tiger has the advantage of being super ubiquitous. But I mean, you would think VTech is pretty fucking ubiquitous too.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, the other thing is VTech is super inconsistent because they're just making shit all over it. So many different versions of the same thing in different colors and
here's an exercise. Go look for VTech laptop on eBay and count how many different laptops you see before you see two of the same laptop. It is actually out of control how many different VTech laptops there are.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say about it is the VTech video game, the Smile. It also had a bunch of controllers. It had motion controllers, a tablet controller, regular controllers, big button controllers, buzzers. This thing is out of control. I don't understand how this got made or how it survived so long. But anyways, it's out there with a bunch of unique games. And if you really care about video game history, you'll be buying these.
See, no, this isn't video game history. This is weird category that absolutely no one collects. What are the dumbest things people will collect? NES porn games for thousands of dollars? All right, that's NES. That kind of doesn't count.
Just imagine how many VTech games you could get for $1,000.
Right? What if one of the baby games is super rare, like the last released V-Smile baby game? Minnie Mouse teaches numbers is just super rare. No one has that one.
What if it's Spider-Man and Friends? What if it's Batman Gotham City Rescue?
All right, so here it is. You're pulling me back in, and this isn't with VTech in particular, but when people say dumb things, including us, the rarest game, the rarest Shrek game, the rarest Pokemon game, they're wrong. If they're talking about a game on the freaking GBA, they're wrong. The rarest Pokemon game we just went over. It's an educational PC game that's lost media. It's not even dumped. That's the rarest one. And if it's not that, it's probably like the Pico Bina games are really rare too, which are educational games that kind of fall in the same category as this. So, like some of these stupid things are probably like the rarest Disney games, maybe not. But like there's maybe something of interest to be found here if you really use your imagination, I think.
Yeah. Anyways, I've done all I can to talk about the VTech. I don't think you should collect it, to be clear.
All right. I don't know why we went down this rabbit hole.
Because I think it's an interesting thought exercise. If we're talking about what are video games and what's the nature of video games and what's unique and like what do we keep and what don't we keep, the VTech is a thing that has a bunch of unique games. Like we talk about all these cross-platform bullshit games that you're going to find and like, oh, we want just the unique games. There's a ton of unique games sitting out there. They're on cartridges. They come in cardboard boxes. We do not care about these.
That's true.
Not all of them come in cardboard boxes. Some come in like plastic shells, and it's all over. The packaging for the shit's all over. I hate it, but it was an interesting thought idea.
I will say, you talking about this did have me looking up my VTech laptop. I had the Talking WizKid notebook.
Oh, nice.
And I could get one for $20.
Don't do that.
I am not going to do that because we're downsizing here. We're not buying VTech laptops. This is not what I need to do.
I have a thing. If you're going to collect something new, I have something to pitch to you, but not now. Maybe I'll save it for after dark.
Okay.
That's it. That's the episode.
I can't believe it. What? You're telling me we're not only halfway done with this episode? That's 2 hours long?
Yeah, we did talk over long on this stuff, and this is not everything. This is not obviously everything, but we wanted to talk about some of this stuff that people don't collect and is in the garbage bin of history, and some you should consider, and some you should definitely just avoid, or just play a fun thought game with it.
Johnny.
Yeah.
I have a collector's question.
You do?
Matthew asks, how long does preparation, recording, editing, and distribution take to produce a new episode?
Of this podcast?
Fuck.
So long.
Yeah, I'd say what's our average episode? Like 2.5, 3 hours? So
yeah.
That's probably how long it takes to edit it. Usually I'm these days I'm editing at 1x speed in the background. If I really am like messing around, I could do it at like 1.6x speed. And that's why I like, if I miss like and stupid tangents that we go on, it's because I just don't care. I just need to get the show out. Yeah, so it's probably like 2 hours of us talking about the show before we record, and then another 3 hours to record it, and then another 3 hours to edit it every 2 weeks. It's like a whole nother working day of my life.
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes we go a little bit harder on some episodes than others, obviously. And the research time can ramp up. Like if we really get involved in and we really are enjoying what we're doing, because Tyler and I both have this kind of manic energy that will happen. We're like, oh, super interested all of a sudden. Let's find out all we can and then dump it into an episode. We could be here for 3 or 4 hours. We've done that a few times. I would say on rate, you're right though, about 2 hours of pre-show, on the low end an hour, but on average 2.
Matthew asks, how do each of your partners/families feel about your hobby, both game collecting and producing the podcast?
Carly likes it. Sometimes it's inconvenient because it's like, hey, by the way, you just got home from work. I got to go record. See ya. Bye. But no, she likes that I have a thing. And that goes with the hobby as well. She has her hobbies. I have mine. It's nice to have a thing that you enjoy.
No, it's real inconvenient because every weekend it's like, oh, it's Friday. It's time to hang out. The work week's over. And then it's like, oh, I gotta record a podcast from midnight to 4 a.m. So can't do anything late. We do things late. Yeah, but in terms of collecting, like my family doesn't care. Like they think I'm crazy. But, if you're a serious collector, everyone in your life thinks you're crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what you collect. If you collect anything seriously, people look at you like a nut job.
Yeah, it isn't like affecting my relationship. As long as I like keep it out of view and don't have it like spilling over like in actual hoarder piles, like she doesn't care.
Does Ada sometimes get to sit with you though while you record? Like, is she playing games?
She's not right now, but yes, a lot of the time she'll just be here playing video games next to me.
That's nice.
It's we're just enjoying each other's company, Johnny.
Yeah. People who've been together a long time get to do that.
Johnny, what are you buying? What are you playing?
Oh, Tyler, what am I playing? You're going to be very disappointed with what I'm playing. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Oh my God, it's Diablo 4. God.
It is Diablo 4, yeah.
At least I beat V Rising. The last boss is super hard, and I beat it after I got 955 hours of playtime in there.
That is more hours than I've played Diablo, I promise.
A lot of that is AFK. Hey guys, V Rising, it's a good game, but you maybe have to like some grinding and like bullshit.
I just want you guys to just take in that number and then hear Tyler be like, "All day of my life is gone for the podcast," but it was like, I've spent 3 months in V Rising.
Oh my God. It's all like, it's just like on my personal computer while I'm at work. And then like every 4 hours I like dick with it you have like workers that you have to send out. It's like a fucking mobile game. It's not that bad. That's it. You played Diablo 4. Did you buy anything?
I have it. You know, these episodes are kind of close together. From when we recorded them, aren't they? Like, it feels like we just did one last week.
Yeah, because we were late.
Yeah, because we're behind. So I did buy something, but it hasn't come in yet. So I don't have anything. Not really. I'll let you know when it comes in. I showed you a picture. I hope it comes in. I'm excited.
Johnny, I bought a nice complete copy of Rockman Mega World, and I don't know why.
What is that, Tyler?
That's Mega Man: The Wily Wars. It was released in Europe, and it's reproduced all the time. And
yeah,
I think they had an official reproduction recently.
So you bought Wily Wars?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It was like I was browsing through Yahoo Japan, and it came up, and the yen is so cheap, and it's like, oh, that's like a game I know about. So I just kind of threw a bit on it, and I won. This was I don't make purchases like this anymore. Literally, the yen is so good, I like couldn't not buy it, is what happened.
How much was it?
I'll never tell. But it was like $160.
That's not terrible. That's like pretty good. That's great. I would spend $160 on that right now.
All right, great. Well, I'll send it over to you. Yeah, it looks like it sells for like $280 on eBay.
Yeah, it's like that's like pretty good.
It's got the postcard. Hey.
Ooh,
yeah, I wouldn't buy it if it wasn't complete. What are you, crazy? Especially for an impulse game I never wanted to begin with, that I tell people not to buy, don't collect games like this.
Yeah, or you can buy the limited run version, which I think it wasn't them specifically. I think it was like one of their partner games, but there's a collector's edition of the Wily Wars if you really want to play it.
I don't even know what this game is. This is is this Mega Man 1 through 3 remade for the Sega Genesis?
I believe it's something like that. I think I have.
All right. At least it's Mega Man 2. That game's cool. Even if Mega Man 3 sucks. You know what? Maybe I'll even play it to see if they made Mega Man 3 actually better.
That's some slander on Mega Man 3. Mega Man 3 is all right. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mega Man 3 feels like a car that's falling apart as you're driving it down the highway, because it's just like like the frame rate is constantly going, and there's graphical glitches, and like I constantly feel like the game is gonna just freeze up at any given moment. Actually, it did freeze on me the first time I played Mega Man 3. This is part of the reason I hate Mega Man 3. I think it was Gemini Man, if that's one of the bosses. I hit like an obscure bug. I hit like the exact right sequence to freeze the game, like deep into my first playthrough. So part of the reason I hate Mega Man 3.
Okay.
Anyway,
man, I need to go on Zen Market and spend my monies.
Or you just keep loading up. Actually, if the yen goes down, that's bad.
Yeah. Yes. You want to load up while it's down and then be able to
spend. All right.
Anyways, so that's what we bought and that's what we played. We did it.
Johnny, have a great night. Good night. Bye.
All right, that's it. That's the whole.
That's how we end the show. No.
Bye. Yeah. Bye. by everyone. No, hey everybody, thanks for listening and thanks for your continued support. We really do appreciate it. If you want to ask us questions, you can do so by being on our Discord, which you get to through our Patreon. It's $4 and you go to patreon.com/collectorsquest. That's it. I'm no more promoing. Bye.